very obvious to me that humans take shit for granted and are really bad at perspective and timing. The reason I push patience, how many people here are under 30? Raise your hands. Stand up if you're under 30. Don't be a dick, stand up. Let's first of all clap it up for all the youngsters in the room. Keep standing. You're young, you're not tired yet. If you're standing right now, you really have, let's get into perspective and actual understanding. If you're standing right now, with the way that modern medicine is actually evolving, there is a very high percentage that you're gonna live 3 more lives that you've already lived, if not 5. Do you understand why I struggle when people give up on shit a year or 2 in, or are upset that they haven't gotten there yet 3 years in, when you fuck faces are about to live 4 more lives? I'm being serious. You're literally gonna live 4 more lives, 5 more, from the day you were born that you cannot fucking remember to right this second, you're about to do that 3 to 4 more times. You can sit. Literally, your biggest advantage is timing. For all the great things that I have in my life, I would literally give it up, all of it, just to be 25. I would give up for 17 years. I'd give up everything I have, because that's how valuable time is. And the far majority of this room has time as their asset. And every day, the number 1 asset they have, time, they give away by being impatient, mainly on the back of listening to society or their parents that they have to have their shit figured out at this age. The fact that people actually think at 18, 22, or 30, you have to have your shit figured out is fucking ridiculous. Let me promise you, all those parents and uncles and grandparents that push down your throat that you have to figure it out by now, they still haven't figured it the fuck out. I mean it. So this nonsense, this fucking nonsense that you have to have it figured out at 18, 22, 30. You know how many people freak the fuck out at 30? How many people are 30 right now? That shit was crazy, right? People lose their shit at 30. Meanwhile, they're a fucking kid. And so I'm unbelievably aware lately that one of the, people are always like, why do you win? And I talk about my parents and not coming from anything. But the more that I live, I'm like, shit, the reason I really win is because I understand time. And listen, I know I can get hit by a bus or get terminally ill. I get it. Here's the problem. That's far more unlikely for the majority of us. The math works in your favor, and we are stunningly not patient. Patience has been the foundation of my success. Patience, adversity, these are the foundations of my success. How many people under 28, raise your hands? Half this room, guys, gals, at 28 years old, I was in the basement of a liquor store packing wine in a box to ship. That's what I was doing for my career, 20 years. I was making $67,000 a year, packing wine, shipping it out. I was the help. I was in a warehouse. Everybody now has to be like a fucking entrepreneur, life coach at 22 years old. That's my fucking favorite, by the way. If you're a fucking 22-year-old life coach, get the fuck out of here right now. Get the fuck out. I'm gonna pay you $5,000 a month to tell me how to live, you fucking idiot. Fuck you. Stupid. That's the same, by the way, it works both ways. Parents, I love parents who shit on, I'm so tired of people shitting on millennials. You know who shits on millennials? The fuckers that fucking parented them. They're entitled, no shit. You wanted to give them 8th place trophies, asshole. So stupid. The number 1 thing practical that you can get out of this talk, go home and start doing, is realize that if you're not communicating to the world, then you're in trouble. Because attention is the asset. And whether you're producing content or you're running advertising, if you're not doing one of those 2 things, you're actually really vulnerable. My biggest concern is there's a lot of people here who are actually having a good year? How many people here are having their best year in their business? Raise your hands. That's phenomenal. Excites the shit out of me. It also scares me to no end, because if you're winning without the stuff that I believe in, it means that you're vulnerable. The reason you're seeing videos of me pop up talking about Toys R Us or Sears or other thing in trouble, and now it makes me look really smart, is because 7 or 8 years ago, they weren't doing the things that I knew they had to do to be successful today. That became their vulnerability. If you're selling a ton of homes, or you're getting more clients than ever, or you're whatever it is, whatever success you're having, if you're doing that without producing a high volume of content every day on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, or a podcast, you're immediately right this second vulnerable. Because somebody else is going to, and over time, they will take your audience. They will. And so I highly recommend that the tangible thing that you do from this talk is that you realize that you have to go home and figure out how you're gonna communicate to the world. I decided 18 months ago the way I was gonna communicate to the world was I was gonna be documented, living my life, and then post-producing that 12 hours of video into video, audio, and written word, because that's how we all, consume. I mean, people, I talk so digital. For years, people made fun of me. They're like, Garyvee, you talk about being so digital. Why do you still write books? I'm like, because people read them, asshole. I may not read them, but I'm not the person I care about. The audience is what I care about. And so if you like to consume content while you're walking your dog or running in the morning, then I'm gonna produce a podcast. If you like to sit down with a glass of wine or beer and watch video, well then I'm gonna produce video and I'm gonna put it on Facebook and YouTube and Roku and anywhere else I can upload that shit on, because the number one thing you should never do is create friction for your audience. Do you know how many of you are misplaying it because you've stopped posting anywhere but Instagram because that's where your biggest audience is? You've become fundamentally 100% vulnerable to a platform. Go speak to all the people that blew up on fucking MySpace, how that works out. So the number one thing you need to do is deploy self-awareness about yourself and how you want to communicate and what you want to communicate. The really important part about this is video is absolutely the holy grail, but many people here don't want to or feel uncomfortable being on video, and that is super fine. Forcing yourself will always lose. It is always going to be a self-awareness. What do I like the most? Because the reality of trying to be successful is super fascinating. Everybody has the ambition or thought process of living a 1% life, but the far majority have no interest in putting in the work ethic of the 1% that is required for that life. And that's fine. Another thing that's a complete contradiction is how many people I know that are far happier when their business, the amount of people, and I've really looked at a lot of businesses at this point, hundreds of thousands probably over the last 20 years because of my investing career. There's so many people that have a business that makes them $200,000 a year. They want to grow, and then when it goes to $280,000, they went from extremely happy to miserable on that small of a delta. Please, in a success world, please understand that success is happiness, not net dollars in. I literally replied to, I have a ridiculously funny post on Instagram right now, right? Like my last post about me garage sailing, and a lot of the comments were like, literally things like, I don't get it. Why is somebody who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars going out there and buying things for $1 and selling it for 15 bucks? And I literally am in there, like on the road here, like replying to some of you when I'm gonna be on stage, and replying in Instagram to kids that are asking me that. I'm replying, happiness. I, Gary, as a human, get dramatically happier when I go to a garage sale and buy something worth 20 bucks for $1 and get the high of discovering it and knowing that I'm gonna pay $1 and sell it for 20 than I do when I land a $7 million deal for VaynerMedia. And by the way, there's no comparison. That's just who I am. And that is what I'm going to drive towards. And so please be very self-aware. And also, the reason that works the reason I was able to be 27 and make 64, because people take shit out of context. I just told that little story and a bunch of you were like, yeah, because you got hundreds of millions of dollars, dick. You don't understand. I was the same dude at 27 making 64,000 a year. That made me happy then. That's what it is. Happiness is so fucking important. I'm so obsessed with it right now, and I hate that success and entrepreneurship and all this stuff have been put on a pedestal. Do you understand that most people think they need to make $1 million a year to be like winning? Meanwhile, in America, one of the richest countries in the world, $440,000 is the entry into the 1%. We have success completely misunderstood. We have success completely misunderstood. Let me tell you what success looks like. When you wake up in the morning and you're fucking happy.